Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Jacked YGO, and today we're coming at you with an updated DDD deck profile for April 2026. So I haven't updated you guys in a little bit. I kind of went through some like phases of. I think the deck's gone through like a bit of a transition with the new ban list. So now that things are kind of like itemized, or not ban list, or the new format, right? Now that things are a little bit more itemized with what kind of the best deck is. Like the format's pretty solid at this point, right? So I figured it's maybe time for me to come out. But I think there's been some updated theory for the deck, which I've also compiled myself, and I want to kind of share my thoughts with you guys, right? So with all that being said, and the fact that it's the Easter long weekend, I actually have some time here. I thought I'd just give you guys a bit of a rundown on previous experience of like me playing the deck, some of the stuff that I've been playing with. And I think at this point, I've really figured out the best way to play this deck for the current format right now. This is gonna probably shape up after the next set comes out, right? Which is crazy to think that Blazing Dominion is gonna be coming out May 4th, I think, is when the set actually gets the OTS, right? Like we're OTS. Our city actually has one OTS store. Well, kind of. We have one that's just outside as well, but fortunately, where I am, I have quite a few OTS. So we're gonna have that coming up in about a month here, which is kind of crazy to think how fast it is because it feels like B Pro just came out, right? But it has been a prolonged format, so I'm gonna share with you guys some of the stuff that some of the experience that I've been going through with the deck, right? So I think since I last seen you guys, I've been to two events, right? I don't usually go out to events too often. Like it's just like if you guys just know what I do, like it can be kind of busy, but I do try to get out to an event like maybe 3 times a year, like a regional setting, right? As of more recently. And I attended the last two Toronto regionals. The last Toronto regional was in January, and that was still in what is it called? That was pre-ban list, right? So that was when ArcLight, just to make it simple, that was when ArcLight was still a thing, right? So I had an okay run. Like basically, it was a 9 round. I went 6-3. Literally the very last round when I was X2 going into round 9. The very last round I played against a DD Dynamite player who just literally FTK'd me in 5 minutes. Like there was nothing I could do. So probably like the worst way to go out after playing 9 rounds of Swiss, but is what it is. So I don't know exactly what I placed, but it didn't matter. Like once you go X3, it's like unless you're like looking for your invite, doesn't really matter. This regional that just came around, it was a huge one. It was like I think it was 300. It was the last Toronto regional. Apparently, it was like 380 something people. They were giving out 48 invites, so it was really big. And I honestly like. So I switched up my list obviously since that time because the last Toronto regional I went to, it was I was playing. It was pre-ban list, right, with ArcLight and stuff. And then this one I kind of tested with some new theory. So I didn't really take the time to do any math behind my deck building. I just kind of went through like the theory and the reasoning behind like why some of my deck choices would be good for the format. The problem was I kind of left out the math portion of it, right? I didn't really take into consideration consistency. So what happened was the week of our Tuesday OTS, we almost always have 5 rounds. We're always over 17 people. I think it was 20, I don't know, it was like 23 or something, 24 people. I ended up just going 5-0. Like I just literally just like swept the tournament. I dropped one game with this exact same list I played at the Toronto regs this past weekend. So I just went 5-0, and like that was kind of my test out for the list. I was like, yep, that works good for me. But one thing I was picking up on was it may have just been me being a little bit lucky, but there was about 2 or 3 times when I went second and I opened like kind of like a brick hand, like it wasn't really playable, but it was only playable because I had the Charmies. I was going second, right? And it didn't really matter. So I didn't really realize that Tuesday that locals that I had that I was bricking. So fast forward to the Toronto regionals, and I won the first round. I actually played the deck against that I was thinking about piloting for a while until I tested some new theory with the deck, and I got reinvigorated, I guess, to play DDDs again for the event. I was going to play Draco Tail Magistus Branded because that's actually a deck that's kind of around my playstyle. It's super combo heavy. So I played that round 1 and I won. And then round 2, I played against a Lunalight guy and I bricked right out the gate. I bricked round 1. Funnily enough, I played 8 rounds. I didn't do well, right? But I want to share this with you guys because it kind of helped me realize like where the deck needs to be for consistency purposes. But anyways, I think it was round Yeah, I went up to round 8 because my brother had a decent run. My brother ended up at the very end. He went X3, but he was playing his Rescue Ace Magnet Warrior deck. He'll do a deck profile, like, because he's got some pretty cool techs he added into the deck. Had a really good run. Yeah, he did like one misplay the whole day. He actually played really well. It's just the ones he lost, it was kind of just unfortunate. But that's why I stayed in, because right until the last round he was X3. Yeah, he just missed his invite, so like whatever. But yeah, that's why I got to round 8. But anyways, point being said about that, all the way. So my luck with die rolls was crazy. The first 7 rounds, I won the die roll. I won die roll for 7 rounds. I never had that before. That was crazy. And then the last one, where obviously didn't matter. Like me and another guy, we just scrubbed out, decided to play. I lost that die roll. So like I literally went 7 rounds undefeated on die roll, which for DD is like huge. Like that can literally win you a regional. But what happened was, so going back to round 2, game 1, I was playing a Lunalight guy, bricked. So I literally bricked right out the gate. Game 2, I ended up winning. And then game 3, I did a misplay where, like, I don't play against Lunalight enough. And anyways, it's not like he misplayed more than I did, because he had a silly impulse that kind of should have cost him the game. But because he didn't read one of my cards, but I also didn't read one of his cards, and it cost me the game. So obviously when you're going second, that's just going to cost you the game, right? So that was my one misplay. But then after that, it almost didn't matter, because the next round I bricked right out the gates, and then I put out a board. I was playing a Go Second Tempai deck, and it literally just killed my whole board. Like when you get dropped when they have Tempai, it's what do you do, right? And then I just bricked game 2. Then the next round I played a guy who was, I played the first round of the last regionals, who I like 2-0'd in like 10 minutes, losing the die roll, by the way. And I just bricked against him twice. Like I just couldn't even play. And I was like, man, so like I was X2 at that point. And then going into round 5, I bricked again. I was like, there's no way, right? Like I just bricked again. And, oh no, sorry, I won round 5. It was round 6 I bricked again. I bricked again. And then I just couldn't kill his board game 3. So I just went X3 at, round 6, like uncontrollably. So it's probably like my worst, I would say that's probably my worst regional run I've had. And where that helped me realize was so that whole entire tournament I bricked 5 times. Like out of 6 rounds, I bricked 5 times, with 4 of those bricks happening in the first 4 rounds. Like I just couldn't believe it, right? So that helped me realize that, math is very important behind your deck building, right? And I'm gonna show you guys a theory I've compiled, because the issue our deck has right now is definitely our starters being, they can get destroyed by MST, they can get destroyed by Fallen the Virtuous. Like, there's a lot of cards that, like, really target our starters, right? So going second, it's a hard time. And when I didn't do the math, it obviously cost me a possibility of doing fairly well, especially winning that many die rolls. It probably cost me the opportunity of actually doing pretty well at that regionals, because I just didn't deck build correctly, right? So did I have bad luck? Obviously, like I had really bad luck outside of the die rolls, but bricking that much still didn't make sense for how many starters I was still playing the deck. But I'll go over with you like kind of like what I was playing, and I'll break down what I went to, and then some of the theory of like some of the people I met too, because I wanted to discuss with you guys like some of the theory that's going around and my thoughts on it, and what I've compiled on my list based off that. Because what I've done now with the list, I really feel like, especially for the form, given the format's solved, this really feels correct for what the deck should be, right? And this is really what I wish I played at the regionals, but again, my deck building just really cost me. Again, I've never had that bad and good luck at the same time, but like that's just, again, it's just a learning curve, right? There's not much I can do about it. I'll just be more prepared for the next reg, assuming I play this list. Again, I don't know what the format's going to be like post Blazing Dominion, but without further ado, I do want to show you guys a list and break down the math and stuff with you guys, and some of the theory that has been going around, in my opinion, and what I've compiled on the deck list. Okay, so I'll see you guys on the playmat. Okay, guys, so let us begin with the deck list. So yeah, so I'll just share with you guys some insight here just before even looking at it. The side deck is, I would say, like, the side deck's like pretty well complete here. Like it's tailored a little bit to my locals, like based on what I know there. I think just through 3 flex spots, but yeah, again, it's not tested by any means, but at the same time, I've looked at the siding patterns. I can kind of show you guys like what you would side out and stuff. And then the extra deck has 1 flex spot, which I'll go over. And then the main deck is 41. And I'll discuss why I decided to go to 41 instead of 40, as I believe 40 is the correct number. However, with the way I have it built, 41 does work very well. And I'll break it down with you guys here. So let's just start off here. Put the stuff over here. And then go. So we're going to start off. I'm actually going to just start you guys off on all the starters, because it shouldn't be a surprise that like I'm playing 3 Kepler, right? 3 Queen and 3 Gate. So I'm going to touch on some of the stuff. We're going to go 3 Dark Spirits Mastery, 1 1-for-1, and 1 Throne. So I decided to max out on every single starter. So this is 14 1-card combos, okay? So here's where I'm going to go down this. So if you guys have seen, what's his name? There's a guy who came, I think, yeah, Pascal. Like, this guy came 3rd at a regional with, he's a really good player. Like, I mean, I think he's the first guy that ever ever won a YCS with Fiendsmith, or not with Fiendsmith, with Memento, right? So he's a very good pilot. What he decided to do was cut 2 of this, and that kind of put a lot of people on, like, and I thought the theory behind it was good, because this card going second, and especially in multiples, is not good, because people, unless they're dumb, they're going to activate the Fallen or the MST on this when you're going second, right? When you use the activation of the effect, not the card, right? Now, some people aren't very smart, and they're just going to activate it right on the activation, right? Which, again, depending on how you word your thing, sometimes people who don't know will just choke fire and just slam this if they're not a good player, right? But again, the problem with that is when you start cutting down your consistency, you're more likely to brick. So what I did was, when I played the regional guys, I decided to play this at 2, and I bumped Copernicus to 2, okay? Again, not that bad in terms of consistency, because I still have the 9 1-card combos, but the problem was I didn't play any of these. I actually decided to not play any 1-card starters and upped my engine count. But while I did that, on top of upping my engine count, I also added in cards like, and I'm just going to spoil, like, not playing any of these. I also added in cards such as Defense Soldier and Thomas, right? I wanted to try that out because, honestly, with the new Fusion, Thomas gets a lot better because you really don't have to rely on your Revive to get like Griffin stuff out, because the Fusion just carries you now. Like, the Fusion's such a carry card, right? So I decided to cut this down and then play 2 and 2, right? Instead of, I think Pascal was playing 1 and 3, or 1 and 3 Copernicus, which Copernicus, if you're playing a Swirl Slime, is a 2-card combo, like, because it's literally just summon it. No one's going to Ash Copernicus, and then you just banish the Swirl Slime and summon a card from your hand, you're off to the races, right? No one really sees that coming. So I thought the theory was kind of cool, but the problem is when you break it down, the math isn't there. Like, there's just not enough 1-card combos to get you going. Yes, I understand our 1-card combos aren't very strong going second, but the thing is, when you're winning that many die rolls, like, I kind of just put that theory to the test, right? I won every single die roll, but I bricked 4 times in the first 4 rounds of a regionals. Like, I've never bricked that much playing this deck, right? Not even back in the days when this deck was like, I was playing this deck way back. If you guys remember back when Ragnarok, you would summon, like, you would go like the Dark Flare, the Flare Metal Dragon or whatever, the rank 7. Like, that's how far back I've been playing this deck, right? And even then, it wasn't that ill consistent, right? I get the game was a lot slower pace, but I don't know, I've never bricked that much of the deck. So obviously there was some luck and like misluck involved, but I kind of put that theory to the test where if you cut down on your starters and you win a bunch of die rolls, you have to either be very lucky, like make sure you're just hitting a bunch of like 3-card combo hands, or you're just the guy, right? You're just that guy who riffles his deck and somehow gets great hands every time, right? So yeah, I kind of put that theory to the test, and there wasn't enough consistency. Like, you just kill the deck's consistency when you do that. I get the whole thing going second, but I found a way to kind of combat that anyways. So basically, I decided to go back to maximize the consistency. So in 14 1-card starters I have the math written out here. So 14 1-card starters in a 40-card list is 89.23% to see 1 in your opening hand of 5. Going second, it's 90, I didn't put the going second. I never bothered doing that. There's a calculator you can find online. I'm not going to put the link, but I think Lucas Sacco is the guy who started Big Money Sucks, was the guy who started floating that around. It's on his channel, I believe. That's how I found it. I just have it saved on my CPU whenever I'm doing calculations, but I'm pretty sure it's in one of his deck building videos, the calculator you can use for it. But basically, when you're going first, I just really care if I'm going first. I have an 89.23% chance of opening 1-card combos. If I'm playing 41 cards, it goes down to 87.73% chance. Now, I'll show you. So obviously it goes down a little bit when I'm playing 41, but there's cards in my deck that I'm playing to help make sure that I have a higher consistency ceiling when I'm going first, because I am playing more extenders, right? So that's where I kind of balanced it out. Was I want to play as many starters and extenders while maintaining a healthy amount of non-engine for the format. Okay, so basically I decided to keep it to 14 one-card combos, like I just mentioned. I get this card in multiple is not great, but if you open this and then you have like a Kepler or something and they Ash the Dark Spirits Mastery, you're good. You don't have to worry about Ash and you just go with Machine X, right? So Dark Spirits Mastery is really good, and it can also recycle from your grave. It can get Belled, but Bell's kind of fallen off in the format. When I made my last video, Bell was kind of a popular option, right? The other thing I wanted to talk about too, so I actually met DDD Dave. DDD Dave, if you're watching this, man, you were the absolute GOAT. Like, you were the guy who, like, didn't put me on this deck, but when I first got into the game, I looked up DDD videos, and you were the first guy I seen. I watched every one of your videos, like, every time they came out, like, religiously. Yeah, he's, like, the innovator of this deck, guys, right? So I met with him, right, and we kind of spoke some theory. So he's a big fan of playing, like, as many one-card starters, like the 14 one-card starters, but then you minimize your extenders and playing more hand traps, right? Which is solid. Like, I 100% understand that theory. The problem is now is, number one, hand traps don't always do the job, right? Like, you can hand trap someone 3 or 4 times, and decks these days still get an interrupt, right? Because let's say, for example, you triple hand trap Draco Tail, right? Well, they're still gonna probably set like one of the traps they opened. They're gonna have pretty powerful hand traps because they play hand traps, or they're gonna set droplets, and they're also gonna have even if you hand trap them to Oblivion, they still have Fallen access most of the time because of White Dragon, right? White Dragon, if it gets stopped, still gets them access to Fallen and the Virtuous. The problem is, so let's say we do stop them, and then we don't have our extenders. Let's say we minimize our extenders so low that we only have Griffin as our one extender. Well, now when we open a bunch, let's say we open 4 one-card combos between Dark Spirits Mastery and Kepler. Well, Dark Spirits Mastery, 1-for-1, and Throne, and all of these all lead, your one-card combos all lead to 2 avenues, either Kepler or Machine X. But where it all rolls down to is your dog contract, right? So if people just hold for the dog contract, it doesn't matter how many one-card starters you have or how much you stop them. There's no way for you to actually play through their board. That's the problem with that, right? So I had to kind of like configure that theory, like where I needed that consistency plus the ability to actually play through things, right? Which is what Pascal had, right? Because that's kind of what I compiled through this. It was like, okay, putting things to the test, because this is what I did when I came back, okay? When I came back, the first locals we had, I wanted to try something different. So I tried to do DD with Fiendsmith, right? I tried the Fiendsmith build, and basically what I did was I minimized all my extenders and just played like, because I use the Fiendsmith cards as the extenders, right? But then I minimized the extenders and played more starters. What I found was, so basically I played against my brother, and this is where the theory was put to the ultimate test. I played against my brother's, he was playing that same list he was playing at the regs, the Magnet Warrior Rescue Ace, which that deck puts out a crazy board, right? So I double flawless him. I drew so many cards that I only had 14 cards left in my deck, and literally I could barely break a hole in his board because all my starters lead to the same thing, right? Like, and we can't play cards like droplets in this deck. So it really put that theory to the test, whereas like, yes, starters obviously increase your amount of consistency, but you have to have some sort of push factor when you're going second, because these days you can't just really rely on non-engine, because a lot of decks like Yummy and all these like Draco Tail and like even Radiant Typhoon, like they still have a fallback play if they get like hand trapped to Oblivion, because they still get a card like Fallen, and then they have like powerful engine in hand. Like they have a lot of like droplets is a hell of a card right now. So I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but like this is what I wanted to like compile is like, yes, I get the whole thing with Pascal playing more like engine pieces, but then the consistency is not there, right? It's not going to work out. The other side of it too is with Dave's theory, right? Is if you play a lot of starters, but then minimize your extenders, now you're putting yourself in a position where you really can't go second, because yes, we can kind of play through hand traps really well, but we can't play through the interrupts like MST, Fallen, the Virtuous, stuff like that. Like we just can't deal with that going second, because our starters are based off of those the contracts resolving, right? So I'm kind of compiling both of their theory into like what actually works for me, and then obviously I've played this deck a numerous amount of times, and I put this through the test through just regionals and obviously playing a bunch of locals, right? But so yeah, 14 one-card starters gives me an 87, we'll call it 88% chance of opening one going first, which I'm totally fine with because it actually goes up from the extenders I'm playing, okay? I'll show you guys in a bit. So that's 14 one-card starters, okay? For the extenders, I decided to go with 3. I don't know if you can see. I'm going almost out of frame. So 3 Griffin, 2 Scale Surveyor, and 1 Copernicus. So the reason why I want to, you can see Swirl Slimes here, right? Swirl Slimes on my deck. I'll go over this in a little bit. Actually, you know what? We're just going to do this now because these are all, in a sense, extenders. I'll label the ones that are actually extenders, okay? So I was able to fit this all into a 41 card list, right? So what I did was I put Scale Surveyor down to 2. I really don't want to see multiple copies of Scale Surveyor because you guys would know, right? And I'm going to be honest, a lot of those times I bricked, it was either I had Scale Surveyor or Griffin in my hand, and it was 4 non-engine. Like, obviously, that's just unlucky, but, like, it's still, like, I just want to see more options to play, right? So why did I label Copernicus as an extender? Well, it's because if you no one's going to Ash or Imperm this, right? Because most people know you have to interact with a dog contract or you have to interact with Gilgamesh. Because most people know this deck on a surface level, right? Because it has been gaining popularity. If you normal summon Copernicus and you have another body in hand like a Count Surveyor, or if you just even have a dead card like Ragnarok, you literally just send Swirl Slime and then you special and then you're off to the races. You can just make the link, and with the rank 6, with the new Fusion 6, all you literally have to do is make the rank 4 and you just get your whole board pretty much. Like, it's crazy. That deck, the new rank 6, the level 6 Fusion autopilots this deck for sure, right? So, but what I'm playing is essentially, in essence, is in 2-card combos, I'm playing 8 cards that provide me 2-card combos. So I did the math on it on the calculator. I added in like 2-card combos, so the 8 to open minimum 2-card combos in my hand. Bump my consistency up another 5.79%. So that put my list to a 93.5, like 93.52%. It says my handwriting is really bad, which is a 0.79% difference as if I'm playing just 40 cards. So basically, because of my extenders, I have 90, we'll call it 94%. I used to be in the trades and engineering as well, so I just round numbers up. So basically, I have a pretty well a 94% chance to open combo, right? So that's awesome, right? Like, that means out of 100 games, I'm only gonna have 6 where I open brick, which is fine. That checks out to the base level, like to what most decks are playing, right? But the other side of it too is that Swirl Slime, I didn't count Swirl Slime as extender because Swirl Slime plus this and Scale Surveyor doesn't really count, right? Yes, Swirl Slime plus Count Surveyor, Swirl Slime plus Copernicus, Swirl Slime plus Griffin is combo, right? So you can technically like add that in, and it probably gives you like a 95. It probably adds, like, I would say, if you put another 2, I think that gives you like a 0.6 something, like just under. So you really have just over 94. We'll call it probably 95% consistency if you're counting Swirl Slime as a card as well. Because again, Swirl Slime works with these, this, 6 other cards, right? So in a sense, yes, Swirl Slime is also contributing to that, and well, your bricks are also doing that as well, right? But again, in theory, you're probably, I just go off of these, right? So I'm not trying to like overstimulate you guys here, but yeah, the reason why I wanted to play Swirl Slime and Count Surveyor is because these cards also give you a really good push going second. So Swirl Slime is really good with the new Fusion, right? Swirl Slime puts a lot of pressure on the board going second, especially yes, this card really requires you to have 3 pieces, but since I'm playing 19 DD names in deck, it gives me a good chance to see three going second, right? A fair chance anyways, right? Not like a huge chance, but a very fair chance to see 3. But what I found is Swirl Slime, especially against Draco Tail, literally makes it so you can break through the board. It makes these 2 cards make it so you can actually push through boards. If you're not playing these cards, it makes it very hard, right? Because then you're relying on your contracts to resolve, your 1-card starters to go through. This is why you want to play these extenders, because you can just push through boards a lot easier, right? Basically, what you're seeing is, in a sense, 10 extenders, right? 10 ways to extend. That's why I want to push for the engine. So I basically, again, I put in that theory of like, okay, let's put in heavy engine that extends and has good utility right now, but also have the consistency where I'm not going to brick going first or have minimal opportunity to go and brick. I'm telling you guys, if I honestly played this list at regionals, I would have actually had a decent run just because I won so many die rolls. But yeah, you got to learn. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to use the math when you're building your deck. And I found this is just the best way right now to play it after playing like multiple different lists right now, right? So anywho, the reason why I'm also only playing Swirl Slime at 2, obviously if I had more space, I'd probably consider playing another Count Surveyor because it's obviously a good push factor. It's never bad if you have 2 of them in your hand. Swirl Slime is kind of bad if you have 2 in your hand, because what are you going to do with 2 Swirl Slime, right? Now, if you have 2 Swirl Slime in another body, then yeah, it gives you like full combo pretty much, right? Like to be able to push through a lot of hand traps. But the reason why I have 2 Swirl Slime is because I can still search it through the gate if I want, but I also, again, I don't really want to see this in multiples going first or second. I just want to see it as that one of, where I can just kind of, it gives me that additional ceiling going second to help push through boards, right? And then obviously, if you're playing Swirl Slime, I'm just going to spoil it a bit, but I'm obviously playing the High King Genghis. Swirl Slime plus DD Count Surveyor or the Ragnarok is really strong, right? So if you're going second, that's very, very punishing for the oh my gosh, the Draco Tail player when you're going second, right? It's very hard. Like, yeah, it's such a good card. So this is what I decided on as my extender pieces, right? As gas, because again, yes, we need gas, but we also need consistency. We can't just have consistency with minimal gas. We can't just have gas with minimal consistency. We have to have them both living in a thriving environment, right? So this is what I compiled it to. Again, going first, I have a 93.52% chance of just through the extenders and the first card combos to open combo, right? So there's only a 6% chance of me not having combo. And then, like I said, if you kind of compile the fact that Swirl Slime is also in a way to play with some other cards, then yeah, you could also count that in too. But again, it kind of relies on having certain things like Count Surveyor, which that's why I would just go off of that 93.52. So again, between all of these cards, these 24 cards, this is all going to be combo together, right? So yeah. So let's get into the bricks, quote unquote. Okay, so I have 5 here, okay? So I'm not playing Orthros. I'm usually a huge fan of Orthros, but I had to find room to actually make it so it was heavier gas component, right? Honestly, playing Orthros, I've never really bricked on it. The only time I bricked on it, which actually happened in the regionals, I opened Orthros and 4 non-engine. Like, unless I open a 1-card combo and 4 non-engine, it's a brick anyways. But Orthros, I do find that you can still, yes, you're going to get to the Link 3 without having a Contract Engrave a lot more commonly. But at the same time, you don't really need to, they're going to have to nib you on the Link 3 anyways. So you just use the Link 3 to pop, and then if they nib you, well, you have Necroslime, Ragnarok, and then the Land Soldier most likely, which can help get you cards back. Or you can just Pendulum Summon, and then that triggers to get something out, your Link 3 back out, right? So again, I decided to cut Orthros because I needed the space. It is in my side deck. Like, you can't just cut Orthros entirely. I love the utility Orthros has. I just need to really focus on gas and consistency, and Orthros wasn't really doing it for us. The only reason we don't have to play it now is because of the new fusion. So yeah, Land Soldier, you have to play this. Necroslime, yeah, you have to play. This is like your most important piece right now. You don't have to play Ragnarok, but I do enjoy Ragnarok over Thomas a lot more. Thomas gets a lot better if you have a Defense Soldier, but Defense Soldier is just an unnecessary brick that you don't need. Yeah, Defense Soldier is definitely a card that if you're reliant on Defense Soldier, if you think it's like a really good card, you're probably not playing the deck right. Yes, I played it for the regionals because I wanted to play Thomas and have that higher ceiling, but the problem was it just added to the deck's inconsistency ultimately, right? And again, not much I can do at this point because it's already done. So Zero King you have to play, and then the Headhunt. So if I cut the Headhunt, so I didn't play any traps when I was at the regionals. I didn't play any traps. I decided to just cut the traps and then play, which when I played the Tempai guy, that's actually probably the reason I lost, because he did open Feather Dust, so I decided not to negate it. I set an Impulse, and then I set Impulse because I had Droll in hand, which is obviously correct, right? And then I got Dropleted, and then obviously if I had an Impulse, I could stop the one of his Pydra and stuff, right? So kind of sucked, but like, again, that just was the way the tournament went for me that day, right? So the reason why I decided to go back to a trap, which was Headhunt, is because it does give me some play through Fualos. Now, the problem is to get to Headhunt, unless you already have access to 2 level 4s, you're going to have to give them more than likely probably 2 draws in order to get to the Headhunt, right? Most likely 2. You don't want to go over 2, right? But most likely this gives you fallback play if they drop Fualos, right? Because you already need to have, for this to be effective, you already need to have 2 4s in rotation before getting to the Link play, right? Basically, if I get Fualos, I can just search the Headhunt, rely on maybe 1 to 2 hand traps. But it would obviously be great if I had 2 hand traps, but I'm probably going to have 1 in my hand. I can just set the Headhunt with the hand trap, and if I want to, I can overlay if I think it's really good into the matchup. If I know what I'm playing, I can overlay into Machine X. But this at least gives me some counterplay into Fualos, right? You do need some form of counterplay into Fualos, because if it resolves, it's this deck's worst enemy. Like, we're not in a time anymore where we can just play through it. Like, I'll just be honest, if you get Fualos, you can't play through Fualos because droplets is a thing, right? If you Fualos, if you get flawless and someone draws droplets, you're not playing, because droplets literally just end you. Like, you as a DE player, you just cannot play, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm in the midst of actually working on ghost, like, blind second Mitsu Striker just out of the box right now, and I just did a bunch of test hands into a full DD board, and it just breaks it every time, right? Not even having Charmies, right? So that's because of the quick play spells, right? So in a quick play spell format, you can't take the challenge. Like, you're just gonna lose, right? So yeah, like, if like droplets just ends our day, right? That's the problem with the deck right now, is droplets is such a brutal card into our deck. But again, I needed, because of that factor, that I just can't take the challenge, and I just need some sort of fallback play. I did decide to main deck Headhunt, and I think if again, it would have saved me for sure that one game into the Tempai guy if I played it. But again, yeah, so these are the 5 bricks I decided to play, right? Again, I'm not counting Copernicus as a brick, and this isn't even a brick too. If you open this with another name, it's like full combo, so like I won't even consider that a brick. It's honestly another form of extension, which you could probably add. You can honestly add Zero King to that consistency level, and it'll probably put you at 95%. So in theory, I like, with a mix of extenders, like, if you were to really go down through like a coding calculator that Big Money Sako uses, I would probably say this is going to end up at a 95% consistency rate, right? Now, if you guys think my numbers are off or anything, just like obviously let me know. Like, I'm always open to feedback and stuff. But yeah, so that's the engine count, right? And then I have 12 non-engine and 41 card list. Which for DDD, if you play too much non-engine, I do find, like, I was only playing 12 of the regs, and there was 3 out of those 4 times I just drew way too much non-engine. It's obviously unlucky, but yeah, so 3 Ash, I think you guys can see that. Yeah, 3 Ash. Like, the non-engine is not going to surprise him. I don't think, anyways. I'll touch on it, though. And here. Now, our deck can't really play breakers because we can't really play droplets. Obviously, breakers are awesome right now. Like, again, like I said, I'm just going to be playing a go second list for some time with a completely different deck. I just need to switch it up for a little bit. But I think the one thing that I want to touch on is Droll and Lopper, right? The reason why I play Droll and Call By is because we lose to Flawless. Like, we just can't play through Flawless. If someone Flawless you, you're going to lose. So, excuse me, like, I get sometimes, like, the last Toronto regional, the one when I went 6-3, it was actually pretty rare I got Flawless. Like, I rarely got Flawless, which is really weird. It happens, I guess. It's, again, regionals have a lot of luck behind them. But again, this one I got Flawless, double Flawless, I think twice. Just happens, right? But if you go to Pascal's list, right, like, Pascal was not playing, I don't know if he was planning on going second or whatnot, like a blind second, which I feel like with this deck could be a bit risky, but with his approach probably makes sense, because then your consistency goes up, I think 4% if you're going second. But again, I need some form of answer to Flawless, right? So playing Droll and Lockbird and the Call By gives me 3 times the amount of answers, or sorry, 2 times the amount of answers to Flawless that my opponent's going to have, right? I don't care about the hand Molcharmy, like hand whatever, Perulia. I only care about Flawless, right? Our deck can play totally fine through Perulia, but yeah. This, again, Droll 2 at the same time as like an FTK with Striker and stuff going by, or like Mitsu Striker, like that stuff just you just auto kill that deck if you add Droll. Like, Droll is probably going to get banned soon. And then Impulse, this is the reason why you play White Pure is just the best, because Impulse is such a crazy card. This card is just nuts. There's no playing through it. Like, it's the reason why we have such a good Draco Tail matchup, because we already have Caesar, and then we have Ash, and then we have this. There's been so many times where I have Ash and this because Griffin gets you a draw, right? It's so gross. Like, you have to play it. So again, that's a 41 card list, guys. Again, with the 1 card combos, that gives me an 87.73% chance to open a 1 card combo. And then when I add in the 5.79% of the 2 card combos, that gives me a 93.52. And then if you're adding in certain interactions like the dog contract, I didn't even consider the dog contract, which is an extender. That's just an extender as a 2 card combo. Dog contract, and then some of the interaction that Swirl Slime gives you, you're probably looking at 95%, I'm going to say. Like, I'm just going to give you that safety net. So again, out of 100 games, you're going to brick 5 times. Like, that's literally every single deck, right? So that's meta relevant. So anyways, on to the extra decks. So there's no, I guess I can touch on this. So Gilgamesh, you only need 2. I don't know, I probably explained this in my last list, but Gilgamesh, you only need 2 because you shuffle it back with a new fusion, right? So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Don't have to explain that at all. So Fusion's got a bit heavier. We have Arc Crisis, High King, Genghis, and Sage King. So the craziest thing about the Sage King is that you can literally totally skip all your revive effects. That's if you're playing. I find that happens if you're playing Orthros. Like Orthros is nice in the sense where like you can literally just pendulum out 2 4s, get a Siegfried, and then just summon this, and then you can just overlay and you have your full board already. That's what's nice about Orthros. But again, I want to minimize the bricks as much as possible, while keeping that high push factor, right? So High King is in here because I'm playing Swirl Slime, right? So High King, if you have High King access into a lot of the decks right now, like Radiant Typhoon, for sure Draco Tail, like it's crazy how much pressure this card puts up, because once you summon something, it just summons one back, whatever you just sent, which is usually the Count Surveyor, right? So it just immediately puts pressure on summoning the Count Surveyor back, but also stops a spell or trap, right? So if you're playing against Draco Tail, let's say they set up Flame. A lot of the time they're only going to get to two traps, right? Let's say they set Fallen. Well, they'll probably get to Fallen and try to pop this, right? But let's say they just have Flame and Horn. If I summon this in defense position, it immediately cancels out like all the problems. It's just crazy how much pressure this puts on, right? And they don't really have a card that stops a hand fusion, right? So that's why Swirl Slime is just so good right now. There's not really a lot of things that just stop that, right? Yes, you could play like Yummy Azamina, but that's kind of just an FTK board anyways, right? So that's what your side deck's for. So yeah, we're playing 4 fusions here. For the synchros, I have one. This is the flex spot I want to talk about. So yeah, I guess there's another flex spot in the sense of High King Genghis, but if you're playing Swirl Slime, it's not really a flex spot. You kind of have to play that if you're playing Swirl Slime. This is the flex spot, which is the Bright King. So the reason why I want to play Bright is because a lot of decks rely on targeting, right? If you play, like, I knew Sky Striker is going to be kind of popular. It is right now, right? If you summon this against Sky Striker, they have a really hard time. They have to get Lemnis Gate, or they have to find a way to get to 0, which you can just cancel that out anyways, or they have to climb their Link 4. I think that's their only options. But yeah, like this stopping targeting is crazy because they can't just Widow Anchor, or you have a lot of decks like Draco Tail doesn't really care about it, but it can make it a bit awkward because it can't just fall on the problem card right away. It turns off Fallen on the Virtuous, right, which is really nice. I like that a lot. Again, it just stops targeting for monsters. The battle phase effects actually came up twice where someone cleared this and then they didn't ask for the effect on the Pendulum, and I just made it so when they try to attack, the whole attack boost thing was, or not attack boost, the whole thing on destroying a bunch of cards like comes up, right, where just Raigekis aboard sometimes. Kind of crazy, but yeah, these are the 3 again. This is a flex spot. If you think Lunalight, I think our deck can play fine without any answers to Lunalight, because if we can hand trap or stop them enough and they just have 1 Liger Dancer up, I think we can push through the board no problem. The problem is if they get 2, right? It's kind of a problem. But if they go Liger Dancer and they pop your board and then you get to the Link, you're off to the races. You're fine, right? So I'm not too concerned about that. And then another thing that DJ Dave actually brought up the interaction I was talking to him is that Wave King Caesar can stop your own. It just simply says when a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated that includes the effect that special summons, you can detach the material negate, and if you destroy it, you can make another DD monster gain, and itself gain. So you can actually negate your own effect to special summon and then just swing over, which is kind of broken. So our deck has a lot of in-deck interactions to actually stop the Liger Dancer, but if you guys really want to, like, this doesn't have to be played. If you guys really want to ensure that you're going to win an event, or and you want to in case you play Lunalight, which you should be ready, then this should be like another out to Lunalight, which I was playing the rank 8. I forget what card I had out in replace, but I was playing the rank 8, which was stupid. Like, I just didn't know where Seven Sins was. Yeah, just play Seven Sins over this, honestly, if you want. But yeah, that's your 1 flex spot. And then Caesar, Solomon, King Tell, Caesar, and Machine X. If you're not playing the contract in any shape or form, you just cut this, right? So that's another thing you can cut. The contract's really good. It's an FTK against a lot of decks, like just not being able to synchro summon. Like it's just, yeah, just broken. It's going to be really good next format, the Trap, like just into Cool Tune. I think our deck actually does pretty well next format, so kind of looking forward to that. So yeah, but again, I think the one thing I can comment on too is Machine X, I'm playing at 1. You don't need to play 2 of this anymore. And I actually think Machine X, a lot of the time I'm not ending on it unless I'm playing against Yummy, because it's honestly not good. It's pretty good in the VSK9. Like if you're playing VSK9, just sucking up the Raisin, because they can only use 1 effect per chain, right? So if you suck up the Raisin, it's really strong, right? Because Raisin's at 3, Rosin, whatever. But this card at 2 is not really useful because I'd rather just end on the Link, because Fallen the Virtuous is a card, like, just, it makes it tough for this thing to actually thrive. So yeah, not as good anymore, but still a pretty good interrupt if it's good into the matchup. Okay, moving on to the side deck. So like I said, I haven't fully tested this new side deck yet. But again, so 3 Perulia, like this, I was always playing this anyway. So the hand traps, I guess I'll go over. 3 Perulia and 3 Imperm. So basically your side out patterns right away are going to be all your starters. So you want to take out, well, this goes out too. So you want to take that out. I don't really want to take my gas out because I want to make sure. So my consistency can go down a reasonable amount going second because I have Charmies. I have 6 Charmies going second. I also have my draw. So I'm okay removing all these cards going second because I still have 9 1-card starters, but I also have all my extenders to, I still have 19 names in my deck for DDD, right? But then I also have 6 Charmies going second, and then Imperm can go in, so for these, right? Usually taking these out. Then, of course, if Droll's not good into the matchup or Call By's not good going second into the matchup, Impulse can go out for, you don't play this against Magnet Warrior. Like, do not play this against Magnet Warrior because if they're smart and you Impulse them, if you Impulse them and they summon the Fusion, you literally lose. Like, there's not anything you can do, right? So, because they make it all your cards become Earth. So, brutal. Like, you don't want to do that. Thank you for my brother for teaching me that, like, early on. So, it's never happened to me. But if you play against Magnet Warrior, you've made that mistake, RIP. What's that song that came out like 2012 with Jay-Z, I think? RIP. RIP. Yeah, I forget that song. That song was sick. Anyway, so yeah, these are the hand traps we can put in. Just going to put these all over here. Going first cards. So I'll show you guys what we can... Orthros, like I said, just in rotation. You can put, if you're playing like a back row heavy deck, you can put this in as well. Having the Orthros in might be beneficial, right? If you're... you can put it in, you don't have to, because the 2 cards you're for sure putting out here are going to be the Charmies, right? You're for sure going to put these 2. You're going to have to leave the one Flawless in for the crossout tax, but then you're, depending if let's say Impulse isn't amazing into the matchup, you can take it out. That's really the only other card I could see going out. You could put Swirl Sign to 1 because you're going first, right? But I prefer to have like a decent amount of engine, but if you're going to put one of them out, I would probably take the Swirl Sign out because if you're going first, Swirl Sign is more of just a utility card where if you open it, it's like, oh, cool, I can make my 3-card combo. Or if you have Copernicus, you can just send this and then special summon, right? So you could just take out the 1 if you wanted to, right? If you wanted to going first, but yeah, because Orthros going first, especially if you're playing against a heavy hand trap deck, you can just early pop the contract and then just combo flow from there, right? Because if you're going to cut a card like Swirl Sign, you can just put an Orthros, right? So... yeah. So yeah, those are your going first cards. I'll put these all back here. 3 going first cards. Previously, I was playing Mistaken Arrest. It actually cost me... the one game I actually bricked against the Tenpai guy, I was actually in it for a couple turns because I had enough non-engine to stop him. But then I couldn't kill him because I was under my own Mistaken Arrest the following turn, which actually mattered because... I couldn't kill... He had a Book of Eclipse, which like stopped my 2 extra bodies, so I couldn't just kill him for lethal. That was, again, that's kind of like situational, but again, I had Mistaken Arrest and then it kind of bit me because it was more so because I bricked and that was the only card I was relying on, but I did drop, I had it in my hand the whole time and I dropped it later. Just, again, our deck doesn't really need those cards to survive. If we put our whole board out and we have a decent non-engine, it's very hard, but again, Mistaken Arrest is a kind of a nice go first card, but again, we only have so many cards we can put in going first, right? So yeah, our deck is meant to FTK on its own. You don't really need those cards. So I have 3 Dark Ruler in here. Only reason being is this is like more so for my locals. Like if I play my brother who's playing Nat Beast, like, you know, I need to have something that just clears the problem cards. If you're playing against the Azamina, like we have a guy who's playing Dark Magician at our locals, which is actually a decent deck now. There's a Yummy Azamina. There's 2 Azamina decks. Like at my locals, I need Dark Ruler, right? But again, you can never trust what Azamina is going to do because I know they can just literally send anti-spell and find a way to just hit it back. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's just specifically for my locals. We can't play droplets, so like this might actually be decent for your rogue matchups, right? We can play Nib, but it's tough, right? Because if you don't want to get stuck in the situation where you have Nib and Impulse in your hand, because then it's like, okay, which one do I use first? Because sometimes if you hold your Impulse and you don't do it early on, it can cost you, because then sometimes some decks get too far ahead for the Impulse to matter after you've nibbed. So yeah, But yeah, I think Dark Ruler, like thinking it over, like especially at a regionals, you probably want to play Dark Ruler. It's no one's playing around it anyway, so if you just drop this on some of these combo slot decks, especially these pile decks, they're pretty good. But this could also just be Lancia too, right? So yeah, but I think this will cover more things than what Lancia is hitting. So yeah. Last card is Denko Sekka. So Denko Sekka is there for pure Radiant Typhoon. We have two Radiant Typhoon players like pure Radiant at our local, so I am playing that. Specifically, I brought this with me at Regs. Like, you can play this against Striker. The only problem is if they end on 0, they tribute 0 and then just pop this, right? And then all their stuff's live and you've already wasted your normal summon. You still can play it in against them because basically what can happen is you just drop if you have Denko, right? And then you're playing, for example, we have Ash, right? We have Impulse and we have Call By. You're probably going to be fine to put Denko in because you have 7 copies, so you just open those 2. If those are your only 2 non-end, you're just going to kill Striker. Like, we don't really have a bad matchup to Striker, but the main thing is this is in here for is Radiant Typhoon, which is our worst matchup, right? So yeah, Denko Sekka, definitely a decent card for siding. It's only ever came up at locals for me anyways, but yeah. So yeah, I'm not going to do any combos because I've done those before, and I feel like just because the new Fusion has came out, it's a lot just more... It kind of gives it that fun factor where like you can just do a lot more freestyle, and like the deck was very, very punishing before this came out. Like if you had to like control how many like it was a very, very hard deck to pilot before this came out. Still hard to pilot, but nowhere near as hard as it was in Battles, in Doom of Dimension format. It was very hard to pilot before this thing came out, but I feel like outside of the 1-card combos, like sequencing is a big thing, yes, but I just recently did a video, like the last video I posted, I had all the sequencing. So you guys, if you guys need any help on the combos, just go back to that. Yeah, hope you guys like this. Again, don't do the same mistake I did where I decided to go to an event and not do any math. I just did reasoning versus mathematical logic behind my deck, and it obviously cost me. I wish I had a list like this because I would have done a lot better, I for sure believe, especially with the fact that I won 7 die rolls in a row like crazy, but things just happen for a reason, right? So yeah, I'll never go into an event doing that again, but it is what it is. Yeah, again, the list I have right now, I'm very happy with. The math behind it works a lot, and it actually can push through boards, go in second, which this deck literally wasn't able to do for a long time. So yeah, hope you guys like this. Give this list a shot. I guarantee you, you'll see good success at your locals and even a regional level for sure. So yeah, hope this helps, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.